What it do, man? It's your boy Battle Truth coming live and direct from the Battle Truth headquarters. Let's get right off into this. I know we tend to sometimes look down on fathers a lot. Our fathers, for the most part, and fathers get a bad reputation, um, um, not being involved in their children's lives and not stepping up to the plate to be responsible. And even us as adults tend to blame our fathers for the absentee that they had in our lives. And warrant that a lot of those complaints can be justified and can make sense in one way or another. But also, in saying that, you also have to understand, and this for everybody, men and women, because I hear a lot of people say, oh, F my father, he ain't this, he ain't that, that no good mother effer wasn't there, he left us, he abandoned us, he never did nothing for me, he never did nothing. I hear women say things like, oh, I'm the mother and the father, I'm my baby's father, I'm the mother and the father. Well, here's the thing about that. No matter how you want to label it, that's inaccurate. You can only be one. You either the mother or the father. Then you hear people say stuff like, forget that sperm donor, or he just was a sperm donor, or something like that. Listen, regarding to what he was, you can't put a price on life. You can't put a price on life. The gift of life is precious and priceless. So regardless to what your father may have been to you in your life, what he may have done for you or to you in your life, at that one moment he was with your mother to bring you into this world, he was great. He was great at what needed to be done to produce you, his offspring. And while the Bible warns and teaches us this, in the book of Exodus chapter 19, I believe, or 20. Honor your father and mother, the fifth commandment. Honor your father and mother. A lot of people try to say it, honor your mother and father. No, it don't say that. Honor your father first and your mother. That's what it says. Because at the end of the day, God knows in that. In honoring your father and mother, if you can't do that, you will not honor him. You will not honor him. You cannot honor him. If you don't have no reverence, no respect, no admiration for your father and mother, God know you wouldn't have it for him. You wouldn't have it for him neither. And he says honor them, and that goes without compromise, without any purpose behind it. Period. Right or wrong. Honor your father and mother, right or wrong, because God acknowledged whatever's wrong with them. But for that one time you were made and created by them, they were great. They were great. And let's be honest. Let's be honest. Us who have been involved sexually wise in one way or another, it's a lot of things we could have done to prevent it, our children from coming into this world. Most of us who tend to complain about what fathers haven't done for them or mothers haven't done for them in their life, we tend to fall up under that same judgment in one way or another. How many times, let's just be honest, how many times we have lied to our children? How many times we have deprived our children? How many times we have taken from our children's innocence? And that means the things we allow them to watch, the things we say around them, the things we don't protect them from, the music that they hear. How many times we have been guilty of these same things we accuse our mothers and fathers for? How many? How many times you been a disappointment to your child? How many times you lied to your child? How many promises you broke? How many times you didn't make right on certain things? How about when you not there all the time? We fall up under these same things we tend to want to accuse our fathers and mothers for. And we become guilty of that same thing. Oh, my daddy wasn't in my life. Oh, my mama wasn't in my life. But now you have children. Are you fully in your children's life? Or do you at times abandon ship also? Do you know that you could be there with your children and still not be there? We were raised that way. I was raised that way by my mother and father. But I was also guilty of that with my own kids too. I remember coming home when my mother and them was there and not being helped with my homework, not being kissed or hugged, asking how my day going. I remember that a lot of times. My parents not taking the time out to educate and teach me things. Yeah, I remember that. I definitely remember that. But I also remember when I had my own kids, how sometimes I neglected them. Ripping and running the streets, selling dope, laying down with all type of whores and prostitutes. I remember all that. Same thing I accuse my parents of, I'm guilty of it too. And this is why God teaches and builds us up and educate us on how not to follow in the same cycle, the same patterns and footsteps of our parents who actually may abandon ship. He tells us to love and respect them no matter what, regardless. But learn from their error to become better parents to your children. And I learned that a lot. I remember my sister got mad at me. This is my sister. This is my father's daughter on another woman's side. We got the same father but different mothers. So I remember my sister Bruno. She had got on my case because I had wrote my father a letter and I had sent him a tape when I was in prison. They used to let us have VCR tapes where we could record ourselves, send it to the family. So I did a tape for my father. I sung him a song. And this was during the time God was transitioning me. I wrote him a song, sung it. I wrote him a letter. And I forgave him because God was teaching me how to forgive. And I forgave him. And somehow he let the other family and them see it and everything because he was happy and touched by a prison that he once was in himself. Not a physical prison, but a mental prison on his mind and heart that he was dealing with. And my love that God used to free him from a partiality of that prison. He wanted people to actually rejoice with him in the peace I gave him through the tape and letter. And then my sister wrote me back, snapping on me. How could you tell that mother effer you love him and this and that? He ain't never did nothing for us. He walked out on us. He walked out on my mama. Wrote me a long letter, snapping. She was mad I wrote him that letter, forgiving him, and the tape telling him that I just wanted a new start. I don't care what you did. All I care about is who you are now. And then me and her had that conversation, and I told her, I said, listen, we both got two different mothers. Now, my sister loved me. She crazy about me. She said, that mother effer, speaking of our father, he ran off on my mother. Remind you, we ain't got the same mother. But when she say ran off on her mother, she was talking about my mother. And a couple more women, but my mother was the other woman. So I asked her a question. I said, do you love me? She said, yeah. You know I love you. I said, well, I'm the result of father running off on your mother. Because if he never ran off on your mother to be with my mother, I wouldn't even be born. I don't even exist. It don't condone or justify his wrong that God actually got blessings, that God used it for his purpose to bring me into the world. But I told her that. I said, I'm the result of that. So to take that back means you erase me. See, some people never look at things like that. They speak without really evaluating everything you actually really saying. And let me tell you something else about this. Now, my father, okay, let's go back to my father and mother, which is my grandmother. My grandmother, on my father's side, her mother only had one child, which was my father's mother. But also, my father's mother, her mother was the only child also. So my father mother was her mother was the only child. My father mother was the only child, and my father mother only had two children: my uncle Press and my father. Okay, so I want y'all to pay attention to this. Let me say this one more time. My father's mother was the only child who gave birth to my grandmother, which is my father's mother, and she was the only child. Then my grandmother, which is my father's mother, she had two children, my father and his brother Press. Press ended up dying without having any kids. So my father was left. Okay? My father was left. He had 16 kids. Now I want you to understand this. My father's grandmother, which is his mother's mother, she was the only child and she died. She gave birth to my father's mother, who was the only child. She died after she had two kids. One died who didn't have no kids, and my father was left. And out of my father came 16 children. But if my father never had children of his own, that bloodline would have been wiped out. It would have been wiped out. Because they were the only children. They were the only children. And God multiplied my father's seed. And why the bloodline continued to go to this day. So out of his 16 kids, I got 7. My one brother got 4. My other brother got 1. My other sister got 4. Then it's a lot of us now. See what I'm saying? So his bloodline continues on. And it wasn't eradicated. Rather than looking back at the past of how you may think it hurt you or affect you, look at the positive side on what it made you and what you got from it as a result of it. Because my pops wasn't really in my life like that, which allowed situations and circumstances in our life to take a different turn that we probably wouldn't have took if he was there. And the results of it was my 7 children. The results of it is the merging of Battle Truth. The results of it is all the people who I have met in my life because of his absentee in my life. So to remove and take that back changes everything. And you have to also understand, and what I lacked as a child, it made me want to do better for my children. It made me want to do more for my children. So rather than looking at things on a negative side, I look at things on a positive side and see how blessed I am because of my relationship I have with God and how my past was actually needed to bring me into the future and in my present of who I am right now today. So when y'all disrespecting y'all fathers, y'all mothers, for what they didn't do for you in your life, what you didn't have and what you did lack, understand, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? And you just try to learn from their flaws and become a better person. And a better parent, a better friend, a better brother, a better cousin, a better nephew. Rather than cursing your own parents who gave you life and brought you into this world. With that being said, it's your boy Battle Truth. It ain't my judgment lesson question. It's yours. Hit the link in the description box. Follow me on my Patreon channel, man. I got a lot of heat and fire over there. Also, Real Under His certified gear is available to everybody that's real. If you're not real, you cannot purchase this gear at all. Another thing I want to bring up before I end this. Shaq, I remember I seen Shaq. Shaq's real father had came out and wanted a relationship with his son. And Shaq replied back. It was on the Ricky Lake show. Y'all remember the Ricky Lake show? Ricky Lake reached out to Shaq to try to reunite him back with his real father. Shaq sent the letter to Ricky Lake talking about he just wants some money. He don't want nothing. He just wants some money because I'm making money now. He want to be a part of my life. But that ain't my real dad. Feel my real dad because he made me. Then he didn't make me because he raised me and took care of me. Then he wrote a song called My Real Father Didn't Bother. You know what I'm saying? I never liked that. I didn't like that. Now I can see if your father molested you or beat you or something like that. But for you to just write that man off like that and just accept another person as your real father other than your father because of his absentee, and you probably don't know the nature and degree of anything, because it's a lot of dirty women out here, and I experienced that also. It's a lot of dirty women out here who actually deprive men from seeing their children, who actually do a lot of dirty, shifty, evil, wicked things when trying to get back and being malicious and vindictive towards guys that you never know the circumstances behind a lot of things. But when he said that, man, I was salty at him behind that and always felt some type of way. Because no matter what, man, you think or feel, your real father gave you life. It's his blood that's pumping through your body. Without him, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be alive. You wouldn't be Shaquille O'Neal. You wouldn't have the children you have. You wouldn't have the grandchildren you have. But the sad thing about what Shaq was doing to his real father, he ended up doing to his own kids, leaving his marriage, committing adultery, fornication, infidelity, ended up doing those things. You know what I'm saying? So the same thing he accused his father of, he was guilty of. Splitting up his family, choosing a different lifestyle rather than being a husband to his wife. So you see how that worked? Anyway, man, it's your boy Battle Truth. It ain't my judgment. That's a question. It's yours. Hit the link in the description box and donate to the GoFundMe of my sponsor, Strict Dad Foundation. Better parents make better children for a better world, man. Know this. When y'all donate to that GoFundMe, every dime you put into that help to contribute to change somebody's life and build them up to be better so that they can actually have a better chance at life and to give them hope, man. So be a part of something different. Help change somebody's life, man. And join the Strict Dad Foundation. And it's your boy Battle Truth. It ain't my judgment that's in question. It's yours. Subscribe to Battle Truth. Real Under Here certified gift is only available to everybody that's real by contacting me at 414-235-6760. Real Under Here certified gift. You know the deal.